that actually transforms us. And the days are holy, and then it shows us how to make our lives holy. Diwali is bring chairs up, absolutely, why not? Diwali is a holiday, as you've been hearing a lot about over the last couple of days. It's a holiday of light. The light that we light, the lamps that we light, but much more deeply, the lamp that we light within our own selves. So many of us are carrying around some level of darkness inside, fear, anguish, resentment, grudges, jealousies, whatever it may be, we're carrying that around. And Diwali is the time that we light that lamp and it dissipates. You know, when I first came to India, almost 30 years ago now, Pujya Swamiji said something very beautiful to me, which has stuck with me, and I've shared it many, many times. He said, you know, you people in the West, because of course not only was I from the West, but I was coming from a Western psychological background. And he said, you know, you people from the West, you sit around in a dark room and you talk. You talk about what it feels like to be in the dark. And you share your experiences of darkness and how long it's been dark and why it might be dark and what the molecules of darkness are made of. And, you know, he went through this whole thing. And he said, and here in the East, we go like this on the walls looking for a light switch. And it's such a powerful teaching because last night as we sat in the garden in just a very casual short satsang, I was sharing about forgiveness, and I was sharing about true self and illusion and all of that. And the instinct that so many of us have to be addicted to process, like I have to process this thing, I have to talk about it, I have to dive deep into it, I have to, you know, massage this pain that I have for all it's worth. It's not always true. And we're not advocating repression or suppression or denial or bypass. But there just are a lot of times in life in which that which we are struggling with doesn't necessarily have to be milked for all it's worth. It actually can just be let go. Sure, sometimes you've got something severe, it's trauma, you gotta go through it, or an issue with another person. But we lose so much in our lives, personally and interpersonally, through this addiction to the drama of process and the drama of our own psyches. And, well, you know, unless you fully understand me, I can't. Another human being is never going to fully understand you. It's part of the package. They can't. They're not living in your psyche. Because what we want to be understood is not on the level of soul. The soul meets the soul. The soul understands the soul. But when we say, I need to be understood, it's an emotional, psychological, psychic drama situation. I need someone to understand why. In my mind, in my heart, in my emotions, in my thoughts, there is anguish right now. Nobody can. Because that anguish is a very specific blend of each of our individual specific neuroses, our experiences. Nobody can fully grasp it. And our attachment to that leads to a lot of wasted time, a lot of unnecessary frustration, and a lot of loss of relationships that otherwise could be really beautiful. And this is where, when we bring that light in, it's like, oh, I can let go of that attachment. I can let go of that frustration. I can let go of that anguish, because I can connect to the truth of who I am. I can connect to another being. I can connect to the divine without my neurotic process having to have been fully understood by anyone. Because it doesn't matter. That's not the highest goal of our life. It's not, we've come on earth to understand our neurotic processes. We've come on earth to become free of them. And so yes, sometimes we do need to dive in, work through it, look at it. But a lot of times, we can just let it go. And the light of Diwali is an opportunity to say, okay, what's the darkness in me? The ignorance, the illusion, the attachment, the fear. And how can I light a lamp so that I can see the truth? That I'm not this fear, I'm not this neurosis, I'm not this pattern, I'm not this process. I'm one with the divine. As I was sharing last night in the Aarti, the original Diwali was the people of Ayodhya lighting the lamps to see Bhagwan Ram when he came back. But we light them not just in remembrance of this thing that happened on one beautiful evening thousands and thousands of years ago. But we light them because we can see the divine today. And that's the opportunity, that's the invitation. So I'm very glad you're all here. I was actually reading an article this morning. People around the world who are friends of mine or have just watched satsang or read things I've written enough to kind of have an idea of things that interest me, send me things periodically. And this morning somebody sent me an article. True story. This is not like a joke with a punchline. True story. An article. There is now an app, and I forget what it was called. I was reading it quickly because I wanted to come in here. There's a new app that will fake your vacation for you. It will literally, it will generate, like if you want a carousel post of pictures of you on vacation, this app that already has access to the photos on your phone of you will stick you into pictures on a beach, in the mountains, like wherever you want to have theoretically gone. The app will generate pictures, reels for you to share about the vacation that you didn't actually take. And I loved the article. I mean, it breaks my heart that we're now at that place in our society and civilization, but I loved it because it's such a perfect example of all of that which is wrong about how we're living. It's like making fake pictures of a meal you didn't eat. Well, the point of eating a meal is not to post pictures. The point of eating a meal is to be nourished and nurtured. The fact that I could artificially generate a picture of it does not actually give me any vitamins, any minerals, any benefit. It doesn't deal with the emptiness in my stomach. It doesn't deal with my low blood sugar in my brain. And yet, we've substituted that which we show for that which we actually have and live in such a way that somebody has put in God knows how many hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of hours go into the generation of an app. They had to convince somebody that it was worth sponsoring. I mean, could you imagine going to like a venture capitalist and saying, hey, I've got this great idea. I want to create an app that'll allow people to fake having gone on vacation. enough people thought this was a good idea to invest in it, to do the work. And what it means is that we've lost touch. We go places to have experiences. We go places to touch something in us that is different from what we touch in the typically very busy, overworked, not enough time to rest and relax and reconnect lives that so many live. But just like a picture of a fake meal doesn't nourish me, a picture of a fake vacation, like, okay, so I've made people online jealous, but I haven't actually gotten anything. And so it made me just extra happy that all of you actually are here and not like faking where you went for the Diwali holidays. And it made me realize how much more we need to constantly remember the importance of actually taking things in and not just about showing them. You see this a lot with spiritual teachings also. You know, sometimes people will raise their hand. It was a very, very common question for a long period of time of what's the bare minimum I need to do every day to be spiritual? Now with social media, I think people aren't even worried because they don't even have to do a bare minimum. They can just post something and feel spiritual. But for a long time, and I used to laugh because spirituality is something that is meant to change us. It's not meant to be something that we just tick off a list of like grocery shopping done, spiritual practice done. Now I can give myself the stamp of thou art spiritual today. But we forget the importance of actually what we're here for, which is to be able to be these clear vessels for the divine service, for the flow of the divine. And no matter how many fake things we generate, all that actually does is make us more and more claustrophobic, more and more stuffed, less and less free. And that spirituality is actually about a letting go, a letting go, a letting go. And as we worship Goddess Lakshmi, that's the real prosperity. You know, we've got this illusion around prosperity that it's about getting more. And it's actually about letting go. That which we don't have is not the cause of our suffering. The cause of suffering is that which we have too much of and that generates a chaos in the mind. And so, for example, I may think I'm suffering because I don't have enough money. But actually the suffering is in the brain going, oh, I should have that house. I should have that car. I should have these jewelries. I should have these clothes. That's the suffering. If we can actually let go of the games that our mind plays and allow ourselves to be free, free of the ego, free of the desires, free of the fear, free of the false self that's looking so much to just broadcast itself, then we actually touch the fullness of who we are. And it's ironic, it's a paradox, but it's actually in letting go that we touch fullness and that we touch completeness and that we touch true abundance, because that which we're filling ourselves with is just suffocating us. And whether it's money, whether it's followers online, whether it's popularity, whether it's power, whatever it may be. Every moment that our mind thinks we need something else is a moment that we're reminding ourselves, I'm not full already. I'm not complete already. There is something lacking in me in this moment. And that's the ultimate illusion. It's also the ultimate cause of suffering. So every aspect that we have of I need to have, I need to do, just takes us into ignorance. And the real prosperity is about, can I let go of all of that? Instead of figuring out how can I fulfill that, it's how can I let go of that? So that I can realize how in this moment, in this breath, exactly where I am, exactly who I am, exactly the full makeup of my karmic package in this very moment, there is perfection. Because the truth of who I am, the capital P perfection of me, has nothing to do with what's in my wallet or what's in my bank account or what's on my phone or what. So that's the real prosperity, is a letting go. So you're all in exactly the right place, doing exactly the right things in the fire ceremonies, on the banks of Ganga, in the yoga, the meditation, the dance, the music, in all of these opportunities. Use them to let go of anything in you that tells you that there is anything other than wholeness and fullness and completeness and perfection. That's the darkness. We light the lamp and say, oh yeah, I was already full. That for me was such an extraordinary experience. When I first came, people will say, what was it that gave you this connection with the divine, or that gave you this? And it actually, interestingly, what it was a removal of the ignorance that I was disconnected. It wasn't, suddenly, yes, here I am one with God. It was, oh my God, I've always been one with God. Oh my God, this illusion that I've carried for 25 years of being somehow less than, somehow broken, somehow not enough, somehow damaged, somehow in need of X, Y, or Z. That was falseness. That was illusion. Oh my God, I have never been separate from the fullness of the divine. So that's the invitation for all of you. And by the way, that was an experience long before I could chant any mantra or even tell you what a mantra was. Long before I had actually ever done any practice of meditation. And I mention this because it's really important to realize there's no prerequisites. Yes, learn mantras, do as much meditation as you can, as much yoga. These are extraordinarily powerful instruments of transformation. But they're not prerequisites for the experience. So with that, I want to open it up to any questions that any of you have. I know in our evening satsangs there's a much bigger crowd vying for the mic, so we wanted to just have a special time just with all of you. So there's a microphone there, and any question that anyone has, please feel free. Yes, of course. Please, come. Come, yeah, the mic is right here. And you don't have to wait for me to call on you either, just...
Thank you, Sadhviji. This was a lovely satsang. You very beautifully explained about the experience of fullness that you felt without any prerequisites. how do you go back to that? Many of us have felt that, sometime or the other, that there is unlimited potential within, and then we lose it.
Yes.
And I think the whole quest of life is to continue to be in that state in a continuous phase. How do we do that? And could you share?
Great. And yeah, this is something that comes up for everyone. How do we get back to it? That's where these practices are so critical, because they're roadmaps back. The meditation, the japa, the seva. These are things that purify our eyes, purify our mind, purify our thoughts. But I think for me, the key thing that pulls me and pulls so many people I interact with out of that experience is the voices in our own head that are being constantly also amplified by kind of everything around us, of you have to do more, have more. It's a constant, what was that commercial? Man mange, more, right? This idea that we need more. And whether it's more physical items, whether it's more fun, whether it's more followers, whether it's more experiences, whether it's more good food, whether it's whatever it is. We live in a culture and a society where we are so deeply indoctrinated into the idea that more, that even spiritually we have it. I need more spiritual experiences, more moments of bliss, more this, more that. And the dilemma with that is that it's actually that thought that pulls us out of the potential of this moment being the exact most perfect full moment. And so the solution is a combination of actual practices that allow us to purify the mind. There's a beautiful teaching that I'll just give very, very quickly, because it could be an entire lecture in and of itself, about how the 3 illnesses of the mind are, number 1, mal, junk. It's just the stuff that fills up the mind that is useless, meaningless. It is just the nonsense that when you start watching your thoughts, you feel so embarrassed if you ever thought you were actually a deep person, because you realize, oh my God, this is what my mind is filled with. So, mal. The second is vikshep, which is the waves, the constant up and down. I'm satisfied, I'm dissatisfied. I'm happy, I'm not happy. I'm peaceful, I'm not peaceful. I was peaceful, then you came in and started talking to me, or then I got this email, or this text message, or this person was rude to me, or whatever it is. And the last is avran, the covering that blocks us from being able to see the truth. And it said that the solution, the treatment for mal is Gyan Yoga. The treatment for the nonsense in the mind is wisdom. Wisdom cuts through all of the ignorance. The treatment for the up and down, constant nature. Actually, I'm sorry. Let me have to go back. The treatment for the mal, for the junk in the mind, is karma yoga, is seva. It's the seva that actually purifies our thoughts, clears our eyes so that we can actually be free of the junk in the mind. The cure for the wave-like function, the vikshep, the constant up and down, is Raja Yoga. Sit down, meditate. do yoga, do japa. Work to still the mind. And the treatment for avaran, this covering of our true self, is Jnana Yoga, that removes the covering and allows us to see. So we use these practices, seva, selfless service, meditation, japa, gyan, to work with the nature of the problematic mind. But then we simultaneously also consciously, deliberately re-remind ourselves that even as I'm working with the mind exists, and all of these exist in Maya. And that actually the highest, deepest truth of who I am isn't the mind anyway. And so I'm only working with the mind as long as I feel stuck by the mind and identified with the mind. Then I have to work with it. But simultaneously, I want to be constantly reminding myself, I'm not that mind anyway. Whether it's going up and down, whether it's full of junk, whether there's a big covering over it, it's not who I am anyway. Who I am is Brahman. Who I am is the supreme reality. Who I am is Sat, truth, existence, Chit, consciousness, Anand, bliss. And so you want to actually be working both of these simultaneously, so that when we are stuck in the mind, at least we've worked with the mind well enough that it doesn't, paralyze us completely. But also simultaneously realizing and remembering, I'm not that mind anyway. I'm the light of awareness that is watching the mind go up and down. I'm the light of awareness that is noticing that there is this covering. I'm the light of awareness noticing that my mind is full of junk. So the mal, the vikshep, the avaran, and the ways that we work with them are critical, and just as critical is the constant remembrance that actually we aren't that anyway, and that in this moment, in this breath, there is perfection, because that is the very core of who I am. And so hold them both. Yeah, great. Other questions? Don't be shy. Yes. It is hard, I know, but your questions are actually that which allow everyone to dive deep. So in the evening satsang, of course, we have ones that come from people all over the world, but this is just this intimate gathering. So we all have things that are keeping us from living in the very truth of who we are. And that which is keeping any of us from it is probably very similar to, if not exactly, what's blocking the person sitting next to us. So, yes.
Pranama, should we believe in astrology or not?
Do I believe in astrology or not? Absolutely, I believe in it. I don't believe in the daily horoscopes in the newspaper. I don't believe in the way that a lot of people use it in terms of a very, very superficial level understanding, and that somehow Everyone who's born during any 30-day period, regardless of where they were born, regardless of the year they were born, regardless of the situation they were born, somehow has basically the same qualities. I don't believe that. But I do believe that there is a very, very valid, powerful truth of astrology. It just requires a Jyotish, someone who works with astrology, who actually knows what they're doing. Here's why I believe in it. What astrology is based on is it says the position of the moon, the sun, the stars has an impact on our life. The idea that we are not impacted, to me, is ridiculous. We're impacted by everything. The energetic pull, the gravitational pull of bodies in the universe, we know they impact us. We know that the sun burns us, gives us vitamin D. I mean, just on the most basic levels of like sun rays on your skin. We know it impacts us. We know the impact of the moon on things like menstrual cycles, and these are just the most superficial level. So to say we're not impacted isn't even true. I mean, science knows we're impacted. However, it goes much deeper than sunburn and menstrual cycles. The gravitational pull of just the moon on the earth is enough to cause high tide and low tide in the ocean. That's how you have high tide and low tide. A body of water that is God knows how many billions of trillions of gallons of water in the ocean is being moved, in some cases, by huge amounts, just based on the fullness of the moon. Now, the human body is mostly water. How ridiculous for us to say, the ocean is impacted, but I am not. Obviously, we're impacted. And then we've also got the planets, we've got all of the other energies. But what astrology gives us is probabilities. And here's how I think about it. Imagine that you lived on the coast, that you lived on the ocean, or you were vacationing on the ocean. And now imagine that you don't know how to swim. And imagine that it is a high tide day. And imagine that you call up a Jyotish that morning to talk about your day. And the Jyotish says, it is not an auspicious day for you to go for a walk on the beach. Today is a very auspicious day for you to do something in the city. Avoid the ocean today. Well, why would the Jyotish say that? Because the Jyotish has access to the tides, the moon, your particular abilities. And what the Jyotish can put together is, high tide, you're on the ocean, you tend to take morning walks at exactly the time that the water is going to be at its highest. That could be very detrimental for you. It is much more auspicious this morning to go for your grocery shopping in town and take a walk later in the afternoon. Now, does that mean that if you walk on the ocean, you're going to die? No. But it gives us probabilities. It says this period of time is auspicious for this. This period of time is likely to be a challenge for that. So it could say to you, this is a time period in which you are likely to undergo some physical challenges of your strength and resilience. Meaning, should you get swept away by the morning tide, that's going to be a challenge of strength and resilience. And if you want to avoid that test, here's what you could do. Take a vacation. Go away from the ocean. So what the Jyotish has access to is a lot of detailed information around probabilities, around all of this and how it intersects with you. It's not black or white. It's not a death sentence. It's not a definitely this is what's going to happen. Because astrology exists in relationship. We know what time the moon is going to rise. We know if it's going to be full. We know where Saturn will be. We know where Jupiter will be. We know where Mars will be. But you are the variable. You get to choose. Do I walk on the beach or do I go into town? Do I start up this business at a time that I've been told is non-auspicious? Doesn't mean it's going to fail. It just means there might be more challenges. But you are then the variable of what you choose to listen to, what you choose to follow, or not. So it's like for me, for example, again, on just a basic level, I have very fair skin. I get sunburned very quickly. I could call my Jyotish in the morning and say, what's auspicious for me? And he could access, what time is the sunrise? What time will be at highest in the sky? Where am I? What's the latitude and longitude I'm at currently? And the Jyotish could say, the hours between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. are not an auspicious time to be outside. There is a high likelihood that you could have a physical illness or ailment. It's a much more auspicious time. Stay inside, do more meditation, do more reading. Because what it knows is I'm so likely to catch heat stroke, sunstroke, sunburns, or whatever it is. But I'm the variable. I'm only going to get that if I actually go out or if I go out without protection. Or the Jyotish would say, if you're going to be out, here is the puja for you to do to protect yourself. Metaphorically, here's your sun hat. If you're going to go out, make sure to put on sunscreen and a sun hat and drink lots of water. Those are the pujas that we're given to do. Here's how to work with the power of the sun, the moon, this planet. So it's all actually very, very scientific if you take it in that way. But if you take it as a superstition that is just these are my stars, these are my planets, there's nothing I can do about it, then you lose the opportunity to be an active participant in creating your own life. Yeah. Other questions? Yes, come.
Thank you so much. I have a question about our mission, our self-realization, our soul realization. When we feel that we are here for something bigger, for something deeper, that something that we left before, it's already finished, and we don't feel the life the same way like before. Yeah. And it's like maybe period of transformation. And how to find this line, this point of a real soul realization.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, soul realization is self-realization. Right? You were asking last night about self-love. And I was saying, well, self-love can only arise when we actually know the self, when we know who we're loving. It's not, oh, I love, my hips, or I love my cheekbones, or real self-love is around loving the true self, which is soul. And the way to do it is through the practice that I was speaking about last night of neti neti. It's a process of removal, because the soul is who you are. It's like saying, how do I find my naked body? I want to know my naked body. Where do I find it? Well, take off your clothes. It's there. You don't have to do something to bring it. It's there, but it's covered up by your clothes. The more layers of clothes you can remove, the closer you are to your naked body. In the same way, the soul is here. It's not about finding it somewhere. It's about unveiling it. And so these practices of looking at the different layers. Oh, this is my fear. That was given to me at this age by this person. And that becomes, then we're able to be free of it. These games of the mind only make us stuck when we're not able to see them for what they are and where they came from. The moment we can see them, we're like, oh, there's nothing I have to do because I only had that belief because of my mother or my father or my teacher or this influencer I follow on social media or this commercial that when I was a kid we saw 10,000 times and it went inside me, or whatever it is. We take things in very, very deeply by culture. And it's not just social media. My mom there was an actress who was very, very, very famous when my mom was growing up named Audrey Hepburn. And one of Audrey Hepburn's most famous movies was a movie called Breakfast at Tiffany's. And in Breakfast at Tiffany's, Audrey Hepburn's character lived on cottage cheese and Melba toast. And so my mother decided that she needed to live on cottage cheese and Melba toast. Point being that long before the days of social media, we were being impacted. This is part of the nature of the culture we live in. We're impacted by people in our families, by our education, those who give it to us. And we're impacted even just by the movies we love to see or the commercials that we watch or now these days, who we're following online. And they're giving us false ideas about ourselves. Audrey Hepburn was this tiny, 90-pound being. And so everyone of the women of my mom's generation felt like, oh, this is what we have to be. In the same way, we take on these layers about ourselves, about what's wrong with ourselves, about what's not enough about ourselves, about all of this. And in your practice, look at them. What is it that's blocking you from your soul? When you close your eyes and you sit to meditate, just notice. What are the thoughts that arise? What are the emotions that arise? Just watch them, just notice them. And then slowly, slowly start to understand where they came from. Some are just this mal, this nonsense, this junk. But a lot of them actually you could almost categorize of, oh, this is what I picked up from mom. This is what I picked up from dad. This is what I picked up from this teacher. This is what I picked up from these movies or these commercials or this social media influencer. This is why I have these thoughts. This is why I feel less than, not enough, insecure, unsatisfied with different aspects of myself or my life. And you just recognize them. And you notice them. And in most cases, you realize, oh my God, these people are being paid to make me hate myself. Not our families of origin, of course, but like everything that we get culturally. Every billboard, every movie, every commercial, all of these influencers, they are being paid to mess with our minds. Somebody is making a lot of money over how dissatisfied we feel. And when you notice that, you're able to begin to peel it back. Oh, this lack that I'm experiencing, this dissatisfaction that I'm feeling, it comes from there. And you peel it back. Oh, this ignorance. Oh, and you peel it back. And slowly, slowly, like getting naked literally in the body, you just start to have glimpses and glimpses and then more and more glimpses. And then as these layers come back, you're able to notice them. Oh, yeah, that interaction with this person, or that video I watched, or that phone call, or that email I got, it made this layer come back on me. And for a moment, or a day, or a month, or a year, I was, again, covered. But now that I see it, I'm able to be free. Pujya Swamiji always says, whenever you wake up, it's morning. So just keep doing that work. Peel back the layers. Whatever it arises, just remember, as I was saying to him, I'm that light of awareness. I am noticing the fear, the desire, the judgment, the anger, the dissatisfaction, the restlessness, the yearning, the grabbing, the grasping. I'm noticing that. I'm not that. I'm actually full and perfect because I'm soul. Right here, right now, in this very moment. And you let that become your highest goal. And everything else just starts to get cleared away. As it arises, you clear it away. As it arises, you clear it away. And lastly, I would say, try to make sure that you're not putting yourself unnecessarily, too frequently in situations where these layers are constantly coming back for a little while. Eventually you'll become, unable to be tainted by that. But in the beginning it's hard. And so you want to be really careful about who you follow online, what messages you open, what videos you watch, who you have conversations with, who you listen to. Because we do take it in. Yeah, wonderful. We have time for one more question, if there is. Yes.
Jai Gange Sadhvi Ji.
Jai Gange.
I'm Anuradha. I come here.
Come a little closer to the mic.
I'm Anuradha. I come here from the Delhi NCR region. And my question is regarding seva. So you spoke about seva and that it purifies us. And at the same time, you also talk about karam yoga, which is doing anything without the sense of doership. So you become a vessel and everything flows. Now there are multiple thoughts in my mind. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get them together, but I would love for you to elaborate more on seva and what exactly it is, how it is to be done, where it is to be done, and what if I have no speciality, I know nothing at all, then what seva am I supposed to do? Something on that regard. Also I was once told that flowing is fine, but you have to be capable of flowing. So, because I may be flowing in the wrong direction, all you know.
Great. So. Okay. So, just for a quick moment, Karma yoga. We'll talk about seva as you asked, but as you had also mentioned about karma yoga and that it's just, everything, it's much more intentional than that. Eventually, ideally, it becomes that automatic. But as a practice, karma yoga is a very intentional practice of, oh God, or oh divine being, however you connect, allow my every action to be one that arises out of oneness. Because remember that yoga means oneness. So a oneness of my individual self to the divine, therefore a oneness of myself to all. Allow my every action to be one that arises out of that oneness, and one that leads to greater oneness. So it's both. And it's very intentional. And it's every minute, it's every moment. Will you turn the fan back on? Thank you. Let my every action, every karma be yoga. And it's the way that we try to live. It's this beautiful, beautiful practice of every minute, every moment can be part of my spiritual practice. Whatever I'm doing. Are you washing dishes? Are you designing a website? Are you walking from your car to an office building? How to make that moment, that action, yoga. Okay, so that's karma yoga. Seva is a very specific spiritual practice in which, and it's part of karma yoga, of course, but it's much more specific than that. And it's how, through our service, our minds, our thoughts, our hearts become purified. Literally, the junk in us gets purified. Now, it's interesting that you say, how do I do this? I don't have any skills, because a core piece of seva is that it's not about what I want to do. And this is one of the greatest challenges that people who do seva, or people who delegate seva, or organizations that run on seva have. Because there's certain seva that lots of people want to do, and then there's certain seva that nobody wants to do. And typically we come in with a sense of like what my seva should be. And then, of course, we bring all sorts of neuroses into our seva. That person has a more important seva than I do. This person has a more fun seva than I do. I want that seva. I'm, worth more than this seva. And that's actually a critical part of how it purifies us. Built into our human nature is that sense of, being important, being some, it's the emotional and psychological and neurotic aspect of physical evolution. Think alpha male psychologically, right? Like, I'm the most important, I'm this, I'm that. Well, it's beneficial from an evolutionary standpoint, because if I've got that sense of self, I'm going to give out the, chemicals that are going to make the females of the species want to mate with me, which means I'm going to be more likely to pass on my genes. Whereas if I'm much more meek and, I'm not worthy, I can't do anything, I'm much less likely to get a mate and pass on my genes. So that sense is actually evolutionarily advantageous, which means we acknowledge it, we notice it, we don't judge it, we just see it for what it is. But spiritually, we understand we're not actually here to procreate and pass on our genes. I mean, you may do that on your own time anyway, but that's not what we're gathered together for. What we are actually here for is spiritual evolution. And having that alpha-ness doesn't actually suit us because it blocks us from actually being those clear vessels and clear channels. So seva, and this is why actually in a lot of ashrams, the seva that's given is literally things like clean the toilets. You take doctors, you take engineers, you take lawyers, and they come and it's like, here is your plunger, like clean someone else's poop. Why? Because it is so good for the ego. Now here, Pujya Swamiji has a different vision, which is there's so many poor people without access to money, to jobs, unskilled labor, that he would much rather employ unskilled labor to clean toilets so they can have money and their kids can go to school and they can have a place to live, and take people who are doing seva and give them things that require another level of skill. But it's never about the skill itself. The fact that others benefit from our seva is a byproduct. Seva is meant to purify us. It's like that beautiful story of the disciple who goes to the guru for spiritual teachings and enlightenment, and the guru says, right, take these 4 cows, and when they become 400, come back and I'll give you spiritual teaching. It's like 4 to 400. And, he goes off, and it takes him however many years it takes for 4 cows to turn into 400. And by the time he comes back, he's gotten the teaching. Like he's there. Through the act of that seva, that simple, mostly unskilled, at the time seemingly inconceivable task that his guru gave him. But the guru understood exactly what he needs to quiet his mind. That's what seva is. And it doesn't matter what it is. Turning 4 cows into 400, washing dishes, stuffing envelopes, designing websites. I mean, when I first came here, for years and years, the seva that I did was Pujya Swamiji's correspondence. Years and years and years of it. It was days prior to email, or certainly prior to us having email. And it was on a typewriter. I mean, it was a long time before I even got an electric typewriter. I had one of those pale blue, old manual typewriters where you actually had to take liquid paper and put it where you'd make a mistake and then wait 30 seconds for the liquid paper to dry and take the whole thing. And I mean, I had never used a manual typewriter. From the time that I was in high school, we had computers. But, Los Angeles and Rishikesh were vastly different parts of the world 30 years ago, and here everything worked still on manual typewriters. So I mention it because through that and through other things that seemed meaningless, I mean, the very first seva that Pujya Swamiji ever gave me was a stack of visiting cards that he had printed earlier that had all of the contact information on it. Well, the phone numbers had been changed. Rishikesh had added an extra digit to the I mean, nobody had mobiles, it was all landlines. They'd added an extra digit to the phone numbers. And he didn't want to waste money printing new cards, and so he hands me this stack of God knows how many hundreds of cards there were. And a pen. Now, anybody here who's ever seen Pujya Swamiji's handwriting knows that there isn't a font that Microsoft has developed that's as gorgeous as his handwriting. And anybody who's ever seen my handwriting knows that I skipped those days of second grade when they taught penmanship. And so he hands me these cards in which he, in the most perfect, beautiful handwriting, has corrected the phone numbers and says to me, now you do it. Assuming that, a well-educated young person who's in the midst of getting her PhD should surely be able to do this. It took me all night. I literally stayed up all night doing it. But I share the story because what we do changes, but the critical piece of seva is that it's about our awakening. It's about a purification of our mind and our thoughts, not about what the actual work is. And this is why seva given to you by a guru or a spiritual teacher is so powerful, because it's in the same way that a guru mantra is so powerful. All mantras are amazingly powerful, but to have a mantra given by a guru is much more powerful, because the guru is seeing in you and knowing exactly which sounds are going to reverberate in your illusion-filled, neurosis-filled mind and bring healing in the most powerful way. Like, you can buy Ayurvedic remedies off the shelf. They're all good. But if you have an Ayurvedic expert doctor feel your pulse and then give you a remedy, it's going to be much more beneficial. So this is why when we're given seva by a guru, by a spiritual teacher, it's got even more power in it, because it's that which is working specifically with our minds. But never feel like, oh, I'm not qualified, because it's not about that. It's about your spiritual practice, and that's why it's such a powerful part of the practice, because it's so easy to forget that, and it's so easy to think it's about the work, and it's so easy to have all kinds of complexes about it. The importance of it, the lack of importance of it, how well I do it, how not well I do it, all of that. And that's why it's so powerful, because it keeps bringing us back to the games of the mind. So seva has been extolled in all of the scriptures as this incredibly powerful way of breaking through the nonsense of the mind. Yeah. Beautiful. Wonderful. Well, I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your very full days. We'll gather again, of course, this evening after the Arati back in satsang, so feel free to bring your questions back here. But I know that you have lunch now, and then so many other things in the day. And again, just such a deep and heartfelt welcome to all of you to this beautiful retreat. And as the Parmarth Seva team, our only aim and objective is your awakening, your deepening, your ripening. And so any comments, thoughts, suggestions, feedback that you have, what you love, what you wish there was more of, what you wish there was less of, whatever it is, please give that to us. I'm sure they've got feedback forms or something for it. We really do take it very, very seriously, because that's what we're here for.